For a limited time at Sprint, get $50 for each new phone you lease when you switch. That's right. You'll get $50 for each new phone on a prepaid MasterCard issued by MetaBank member FDIC. Just register for the card online and you're good to go. Get a network built for unlimited and a great price at Sprint. It's the best of both worlds. And get $50 on a prepaid MasterCard for each phone you lease. Visit a Sprint store this weekend only for sizzling Sprint Saturday deals.
Card terms, conditions, and expiration apply.
Gather near, the doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, there we go with Freddie Cooper, who wrote that song for this program. Welcome, everyone, to Dr. Ron Unfiltered, Uncensored, our 302nd podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, be ready. Get your duct tape ready, because you're going to hear information you don't hear anyplace else, any standard medical outlet. You won't read this on any standard medical outlet. Get your duct tape ready. Ladies and gentlemen, as we do every week, I welcome you with an attitude of gratitude. Remember, life is short for drama or petty things, so laugh hard, love truly, and forgive quickly. And remember, gratitude has measurable beneficial effects on the mood, neurotransmitters, serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine, the inflammatory cytokines, immune function, blood pressure, blood sugar, testosterone, guys, oxytocin, couples, and cortisol, the stress hormone. So with that, ladies and gentlemen,
you left out Barolo wine, too. That also stimulates the neurotransmitters.
Well, you happen to know what I had for dinner. Ladies and gentlemen, this program contains general medical information. The medical information heard on this program is not advice and should not be treated as such. The information is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. You should never delay seeking medical advice, disregard medical advice, or discontinue medical treatment because of information heard on this program. You are encouraged to confirm any information obtained from this program with other sources and review all information regarding any medical condition or treatment with your physician. Now we have the lawyers happy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had a star-studded group of physicians and commentators these past few weeks. Right, Gerry? Dr. Gerry's here. He's our co-host. We've had Ralph Moss. We've had Dr. Anthony Sims. We had Dr. Nye. We've had Dr. Jaffe. We've had Dr. William Wong. So it's just incredible, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to thank you for supporting this podcast. Please, if you can, spread the news. Tell your friends. We are on every platform. We're on Alexa, iPod, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn Radio. It's even in Ford products, they tell me. iHeartRadio, Blueberry. I mean, where you just Google Dr. Ron, Unfiltered, Uncensored, you'll come up with our shows. So, I'm sort of out of breath because I actually I've been studying like for a final exam since I first saw Professor Peskin. It's incredible. It's only been 2 days ago.
Well, it's about time somebody lit a fire under you.
Holy jeez, I might have to come out of retirement. Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of days ago, I heard an interview with Dr. Peskin or Professor Peskin with a friend of mine, John White, who, because as you know, I've been experimenting with frequencies and right frequencies and so forth. And I said, let me give this gentleman a call because this is information that we all need to know. And he was kind enough to change his schedule and come on tonight. So This man, when they say listen to your parents, well, he's going to tell you about parenting, but parent essential oils. It's an incredible story. I mean, an absolutely incredible story from a scientist who pays attention to detail. And I knew that because Dr. Gerry and I, remember, we have talked about the statins and absolute versus relative risk and how the pharmaceutical companies uses that. He talks about this. He knows about it, more importantly. He has used this term parent essential oils. Now, how many times has the American Heart Association told you that you should be using omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, DHA, because it lowers your risk of death and so forth? Well, hold on to your heads, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear the real story tonight. Like, who was that guy, the other side? Paul Harvey. You're going to hear the other side of the story tonight. This is an incredible, incredible story. So Professor Peskin has agreed through the kindness of his heart to be here tonight. He's a professor. He's an engineer. He pays attention to detail. And I just want to introduce him that way and let him introduce himself, because you're going to learn a lot tonight. So, Professor Peskin, it's yours.
I'm delighted to be here. Thanks. So I'm an engineer by training, Dr. Ron. And the reason I got into the medical field is my wife became diabetic at age 30, doing, quote, everything right. Exercise her tail off, low fat, high carb, everything she was told to do. Type 1 diabetic. So it's, Brian, you're a good scientist. Why the heck did this happen? Then the doctor's recommendations made her blood sugar worse. So it's doubly as bad. So luckily I live in Houston, Texas. The Houston Academy of Medicine at the cancer center here, the biggest cancer center in the world, was nice enough to let me use their medical library over Jesse Jones' library for many years. And it was, my goodness, who do I believe? You have a doctor on one side saying high fat, low carbs, like Atkins. You have somebody on the other side, same thing, like Ornish, the opposite. Who do I believe? My comment is I don't believe anybody. I'm a scientist. I believe science. Is there a field of science that tells us how we work? Yeah, there's actually two: medical biochemistry and medical physiology. So that's where I spent years, and it was, my goodness, what we're being told is opposite, directly opposite in many, many cases from the science. And I just started researching and spent years, came across the work of Otto Warburg and oxygenation. If you don't know Warburg's name, you can look him up. The greatest physiologist of the 20th century, MD, PhD, Nobel Prize winner. And people didn't want to believe him because he was a Jew and he was protected by the Nazis because they wanted his work. So Hitler protected him, so all the Jews in America that were top biochemists would lie and do everything to mislead his results. But he said, cancer is caused by one thing, lack of cellular oxygen. I never forgot it, so I'm standing on the shoulders of a giant, and everything I do is about increasing cellular oxygen and the structure of every cell, because the oxygen goes into the cell membrane. So that's where it started, and the results have been verified for almost 2 decades now around the world. The thing we're working on now is expedited surgical healing. A lot of people have surgery or they have injuries from falling, and we can heal you 25 to 35% faster. So if anybody's going in for any kind of surgery, routine, or something you absolutely need, even cosmetic, you heal like you wouldn't believe. And that's because the increased cellular oxygenation and the structure of the cell. So that's it in a nutshell, but this is not a hobby with me. It's all I do. I live in the cell membrane, eicosanoids, essential fatty acids, prostaglandins, and that's all I do. So everything originates from there. And we have 100 trillion cells, and if you don't start with the cell membrane, you're going to miss the number one thing you need to address. That's
Brian,
all right.
I just have a quick question for you. I've been reading where the MSM, the methylsulfonomethane, actually enhances the flexibility of the cell membrane. Would that be a good adjunctive to add into the equation with the...
There's any adjunct, just like you say, sure. But if you don't address the parent, and I'll tell you, the cell membrane is half fat, half protein. It's virtually no carbohydrate in a cell membrane. So out of that half fat portion, 25 to 35% are parent essential oils, meaning parent omega-6, that's LA, linoleic acid, and parent omega-3, technically termed alpha-linoleic acid. All you need to know is they're essential. You can't make either one. Have to come from food. And one has 2 double bonds, one has 3 double bonds. The omega-6 is much, much more important than the omega-3. And I know what you're thinking, but we're overdosed on omega-6, or everything says this. You're overdosed on adulterated omega-6. And the reason the food processors have to adulterate or chemically change the fully functional omega-6 is because the omega-6 oils, and that comes from pumpkin seed, sunflower, safflower. Most seed oils are heavy in parent omega-6 because we need lots of it. It's 11 to 1 in the body. When you figure out the organ and tissues, we need 11 times more parent omega-6 than we do parent omega-3. And at least 50% of the omega-6 we're getting in food from restaurants, from deep frying, from all the fast food restaurants, even the high-level restaurants, because they have to have these oils last long. So it shuts down the oxygen transfer, and that keeps the food okay, so you don't have oatmeal smelling like fish has gone bad, but it's killing us. And nobody is looking at putting this back in, and they all miss one word: adulterated omega-6. Purely functional omega-6 is critical, absolutely critical. And what they'll say is, for example, 7-day Advents, they eat a lot of walnuts. Oh, it's the omega-3 in the walnuts. Well, if anybody would care to take the time to analyze what's in a walnut, there's 5 times more parent omega-6 in it, but they're not getting it adulterated. That's the reason they're healthy. It's always in the news. Omega-6 makes the diabetics better. Nuts. They're all omega-6. All heavy omega-6. Typically with no omega-3. And that's the answer. But they never give the definitive cause. So I'm all about cause and effect, not associations. Good point.
So Brian, real quickly. So basically, you shouldn't microwave your food because that'll destroy the essential oils, right?
Yeah, I don't microwave anything. You're absolutely right. These oils are delicate. They can't take a lot of heat. They can take a chunk of heat, but I won't microwave them. I won't even do a lot of cooking with them. You can cook with these oils, but I advise an unprocessed, purely organic, unheated. You can go to 120 degrees during processing, but that's it, for consumption on a daily basis. And you need these every day. You don't need a lot, but you need it every day.
So in essence,
all right, Professor, let's go back a second though.
Yep.
So our audience knows what we're talking about. When they go into a health food store and they see fish oils, 1,000 milligrams. Yep. My doctor told me I should take it. I just had a heart attack or whatever. Tell our listeners what's wrong with that statement.
Sure. There's 2 things. There's parent omega-3, parent omega-6. On the omega-3 side is the fish oil, that's EPA, DHA. Those are the active ingredients. Those are termed derivatives. And what that means is parents have offspring. So in the body, the offspring are called derivatives, and they're longer chains, so they have 5 and 6 double bonds instead of 2 and 3. They are non-essential. Your body makes them. And I know what everybody says, oh, but it's impaired and it's slow. That's called the delta-6 desaturase enzyme pathway. And there is a small impairment in diabetics, alcoholics. If you're undergoing radiation or chemotherapy, it'll be impaired. But it's not a lot. You just need a little boost in that area. But they've done analyses with even vegetarians, and they get fine amounts of DHA and EPA in the bloodstream as long as they get the parents. And again, the reason you want the parents is because they are the brick and mortar of every cell. Remember, 25 to 33% is actual structure in the cell membrane. So the analogy is I have a house ready to fall apart and I put a new coat of paint on it. It looks nice, but it falls apart. Every one of those 100 trillion cells are not structurally okay. You've got a problem. Now, the problem with the DHA, EPA, it doesn't matter which one. They're called retroconvertible. So EPA goes to DHA. DHA can go back to EPA, so you combine them. On a 1,000 milligram capsule, it's about 60% EPA, DHA. That's 600 milligrams. First question to ask is, has anybody analyzed how much DHA goes into the brain on a daily basis? I've never seen anybody answer that except one guy. They've done those tests at the National Institutes of Health and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The answer is 7.2 milligrams a day. Okay, so if you multiply the eyes have DHA to double it, say 15 milligrams. I just told you that capsule has 600. So 15 times 40 is 600. That means you're getting a suprapharmacologic overdose taking one capsule of fish oil of 40. The average person today is getting 20 to 500 times too much DHA EPA. And to put it in perspective, take 100 aspirin and call me in the morning. Don't do it. I'm being facetious. You'll die. You'll bleed to death. But that's called a suprapharmacologic overdose. And what this does, you need a little, but not much. Your body makes it. It displaces that critical parent omega-6, and it actually came out 2018, the Journal of Biological Chemistry. Now, doctors don't read journals like this. I do, because I'm a hardcore scientist. Doctors read New England Journal of Medicine, Journal of Medical, JAMA, the Lancet. They read clinical. I read the scientific one. Journal of Biological Chemistry. Number one, they looked at DHA levels. In diabetic patients, they're elevated 70%. You take DHA fish oil, you are mimicking the blood of a diabetic. Do you want that? I hope like heck your answer is no. Now, the other thing is, in the cardiac enzymes in the mitochondria, having this DHA from your fish that your cardiologist probably prescribed to you decreases the activity of the mitochondria, and that's where your energy comes from to make the heart go boom. To pump it, it's down by 50%. And here's what the article actually said, quote, replacement of parent omega-6 with DHA prevents the formation of lipid domains. Major remodeling, the parent omega-6, quote, rescues the cardiolipin induced by long-term intake of DHA. Cardiolipin is in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Technical, you don't need to care about it, except that is critical. There's no DHA, EPA fish oil in there. And they're actually saying this. The activities are rescued by parent omega-6. Rescued is their word. I saw no mainstream medical anything pick up on this fantastic article. It was unbelievable. If you don't believe that's enough, Cochrane does the best scientific study reviews in the world. It's called the Cochrane Collaborative. And this is 2018, just like the Journal of Biological Chemistry was 2018, last year. Common belief that fish oil works in helping heart disease. They looked at 25 studies out of the thousands of them because the rest weren't even worth looking at. Only 25 were well-designed. Here's the quote. Found that increasing long-chain omega-3, that's DHA, EPA, provides little, if any, benefit on most outcomes. Little or no difference to the risk of cardiovascular events, coronary heart deaths, coronary heart disease events, stroke, or heart irregularities. We can be confident in this finding that it fails in this review, which goes against the popular belief that long-chain omega-3 supplements protect the heart. This large systematic review included information from many thousands of people over long periods. Despite all this information, we don't see protective effects. It does not benefit heart health or reduce the risk of stroke or death from any cause. But it doesn't change people. They've already made a decision. They keep going and going and going. Fish oil is increased for a fish. Do we live in 30 or 40 degree temperature? No. Living in 70. And our intern was 98.6. I want everybody to know DHA spontaneously is rancid at room temperature. When it hits body temperature, it's doubly as rancid. And Dr. Rowan, who co-wrote PEO Solution with me, sent me a great article. He goes, Brian, do you think the amount of DHA, EPA in a warm water fish is the same as in a cold water fish? I said, no, but I don't know what the numbers are. There's no way for me to tell. He goes, it's a factor of 14 less. So the warmer the fish, the less antifreeze is needed, 14 times less. What are we doing? We're taking 100 times more. We're causing our own destruction. So I get so passionate about this. Everybody's trying to do the right thing, and they're getting misled by people that don't know what the heck they're talking about.
Yeah. So, Brian, what's the effect of taking an aspirin a day on the cell membrane?
Aspirin's not good. It's what it does is it shuts down these parent omega oils from going into derivatives. You need arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid makes something called prostacyclin, which is PGI2. And in most charts on eicosanoids, they say this is inflammatory, which is beyond stupid. It is the most superb thing to stop a heart attack that there is. Prostaglandin series 2, PGI2, makes it where the platelets can't stick to each other, and they can't stick to an artery wall, and it dilates your artery so there's more blood flow. Now, those three things make it where it's virtually impossible to get a heart attack. Again, on the omega-6 side, and aspirin shuts that down. So aspirin will temporarily stop that headache, but when you have pain, you have healing. So it's a two-edged sword. It's like being on a steroid temporarily helps you, but long-term it'll kill you. Steroids and these type of things, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, NSAIDs, stop the EFA metabolism. It's a horrific thing. The other thing I want to make clear to everybody is on the omega-6 side is PGE1, prostaglandin series 1. It is the most powerful anti-inflammatory in the world that your body makes, comes directly from parent omega-6, the first derivative. It's called GLA. And if you have arthritis, any problem with the skin, any kind of injury, you won't believe how you heal. And by the way, your entire skin is all parent omega-6. There's no fish oil in there, so when I see nonsense like, oh, the fish oil made my skin smoother, how? It's impossible. It's not in there. Also, the innermost lining of the artery, called the intima, is all parent omega-6. There's no fish oil in there. Fish oil has nothing to do with anything. The structural integrity is all parent omega-6. Now just imagine if all those thousands of miles of arteries and capillaries are all that too, has non-functional omega-6 in there. Man, have you got a problem, and this is why heart disease is our number one killer.
All right, so Professor, just so our audience knows, because you talk about it every day, but our audience doesn't. The parent essential oils, okay, what are they?
They're the only food the body can't make.
And how do they get them?
They come from seeds, and a lot of foods have them. Like flaxseed is more parent omega-3. It's about 3.5 to 1 backwards ratio. Remember I told you it's 11 to 1 in the body of parent omega-6 to omega-3? Well, flax oil is the reverse, but you can use some flax oil to get the omega-3 portion. Safflower oil, sunflower oil, pumpkin oil, evening primrose oil. Evening primrose oil is great to get some of the GLA, so it bypasses that enzyme. Remember I told you everybody says it's defective? It's not defective, but it turns out you can bypass it and have even more PGE1 made. And you can't overdose on PGE1 because your body makes it. And it makes very, very little amounts. This is a mistake the entire medical field made. They thought all the parents would go to derivatives, okay? So if I give you fish oil, I don't need the parent omega-3 because it doesn't do anything anyway. I just want the omega-3, the DHA EPA. They were dead wrong. They did have what's called high-resolution chromatography, so they couldn't measure it. Turns out less than 1% of parents go to derivatives. Now, do you want to spend your time concentrating on the 99.9% or the 0.1%? I'm with the 99.9 because if that's taken care of, the rest is no big deal. They're spending their time on the 0.1% and missing 99.9%. That would be the analogy of having 1,000 cell phones, 999 blow up in your face, one works, and I'm told I did a good job. It's like statins. 1 out of 100 gets a success rate. 99% failure rate is the way I look at that. And most doctors will go, oh, it's great. That's why everybody needs to be on them. I look at them like they're crazy.
Yeah, quick question for you, Brian. Or is
Yes.
there any herb or vitamin that will potentiate the omega-6s and 3s?
Yeah, there's good questions. It doesn't potentiate them, but you can use them for energy production. Now, in the mitochondria, the cardiolipin, which is the inner membrane, it's critical. It's all parent omega-6. But to get energy, there's zinc, there's iron, there's magnesium, there's different minerals that are called coenzymes, and they make chemical reactions go up to 1 million times faster. So I talk about this in my writing, but there's a few minerals that work to make more energy and more oxygen. So there is a synergy, but nothing takes the place of these oils. That's what everybody needs to understand. They're fundamental, and you can get added results taking other things, but if you don't get these, you're impaired. I mean, you're just impaired. It's like you're trying to hit a baseball bat, you're trying to hit a baseball, and you have a bat that's an inch. It's not gonna. Good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been listening to Professor Brian Peskin. That's Peskin. His website is brianpeskin.com, BrianPeskin, to learn more about him. And I was talking to Dr. Gerry about this website, and I saw that he's a one-star general because Barrett only took one swipe at him. That's like a badge of courage in our minds when these so-called quackbusters, experts, or nothing but psychiatrists, take swats at people. We love them. We love you. So,
Brian, I had a quick one. Brian, you had mentioned on one of your interviews about a book on cancer that you wrote, and you said it's available in PDF. Could I get that from your website to purchase it, or?
Yeah, you can see the books. Yeah. There's 3 books. There's 24-Hour Diet for people that really care about losing weight and how do I stay and maintain weight, and PEO Solution if you care more about health. The material is the same. The focus and the structure is very different, but they're both absolutely consistent.
Okay, so they're available for sale on your website, right?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
BrianPeskin.com. Professor, Dr. Wong sent in a question. I just got it here. He says, please ask him how we get around the lignin/estrogen issue with grain oils.
Yeah, good question. There's no issue whatsoever with the oil by itself. Unless you're eating the husk, which is called high lignin flax oil, he's absolutely right. It's horrific. It's highly estrogenic. You don't want the husk of anything. That's insane. So as long as it's the oil only, I did a lot of research on this because a decade ago I was concerned about this. There's none in there. So there's nothing whatsoever to worry about as long as it's just the oil. You do not want high lignin anything.
Wow, okay. Dr. Wong has a whole section of his website devoted to estrogen and the seeds and flaxseed and soy. That, it just blew my mind that people are eating so much soy and most cancers are estrogen related.
Soy food for a pig. I lecture a lot in Iowa. I smell soy. If you ever smell ground up soy, you want to throw up. It literally is food for a pig. Dr. Wong is absolutely right. It's a major endocrine disruptor. It'll put you into diabetes. It screws up digestion from your pancreas. It's horrific. It literally is for a pig. I know you're thinking, but they eat so much of it over in the Orient. I've been in the Orient. No, they don't. It's a side dish. They have very little tofu. They have very little soy sauce. They're not living on that, and it's not a meat replacer. Once again, the health profession takes advantage of people they know haven't been over there, and they can say anything, and people don't know. I went there. I do know. I've been in China. I've been in Japan. I've been in Thailand. They're not doing anything. They don't live on rice. If you're living on rice, you're a peasant, and you're starving to death, and it is not a good food at all.
Well, how about some of these tribes that have low heart disease rate, like the Maasai? They don't consume a lot of marine oils. What do they have in common?
They're huge meters. Let me be very clear. You hit it right in the head, Doc. Marine oils. So if it's fish oil, mussel oil, krill oil, squid oil, I don't care what it is. If it lives in the sea, it's marine oil. It's all DHA, EPA. We don't want it. You don't need the antifreeze. Now, there is DHA in the brain and the eye, but the half-life of it is 2.5 years, if you can believe this. Your body wants a lousy 7.2 milligrams a day, and it stays in the brain. Now, we have natural antioxidants, so it keeps the oil okay. The problem is if I take this super pharmacologic overdose of these capsules with 100 times too much, all the antioxidants go from your brain and elsewhere into the bloodstream to try and protect this stuff from going bad. Remember, it goes instantly rancid. And what's left? Your brain isn't protected. Where do you think Alzheimer's is coming from? All the capillaries in the brain, and there's hundreds of millions, are all parent omega-6. There's no omega-3 in there, parent or derivative. It's all parent omega-6. And the parent omega-6 is where the oxygen transfer is. So a capillary is where the nutrition goes into the tissue and the oxygen does. And if they're screwed up, you can't think, you have no memory. That's Alzheimer's. I just went to a conference, Methodist Hospital, big conference on Alzheimer's. Is a vascular disease. The best vascular solution in the world is these oils.
So Brian,
none. We did the Iowa study. That's on my website too. We could prove the oils made the artery more flexible and decreases occlusion.
So Brian, if you're using ozone therapy, and you're doing the omega-6s, that's going to enhance the whole healing process, right?
Parent omega-3, parent omega-6, along with ozone is outstanding. Dr. Rowan, co-author of PEO Solution, is a big ozone therapist expert. And absolutely, it's super, but this turbocharges the results. Turbocharges it. Also, if anybody's doing hyperbaric oxygen, this is like hyperbaric oxygen, except 24 hours a day and 10 times better. Because it's actually working at the cell membrane level. It's not trying to force oxygen in. It doesn't go very far, and hyperbaric doesn't work very well unless you have a very minor problem. If you have any major problem, like a type 3 ulcer from diabetes or gangrene, forget it. It's not going to do anything. These oils will.
Wow. Well, if in the past I've heard physicians recommending fermented cod liver oil. What do you think? What's your take on that?
It's absolutely horrible. There was a big paper on that, and I've got by Kayla. She wrote a lot about soy, but she also did a huge expose on this. Cod liver oil is horrible. Any marine oil is horrible. Fermenting it doesn't help it any. You start with garbage, you end up with garbage. But it's horrible. It doesn't work. It's an old wives' tale. The thing with budwig, with parent omega-3, getting from flax and cottage cheese, that is not effective today because the problem is the adulteration of the parent omega-6. So that will not work today. I want to make that clear to everybody, too, because I always get people to say, budwig was brilliant. In her day, yeah. Today, worthless. You have to address that adulterated parent omega-6 problem.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a breath of fresh air to hear you say that, because we've had guests on the show that have stated that Budwig's initial results were good, but long term they were not.
They aren't, and today they won't work at all. It could never actually work because the omega-3 doesn't oxygenate. There was a great paper by Campbell in 1976 on this with cystic fibrosis patients talking about the increased cellular oxygen. And if you look at anybody, even with a cancer tumor, the oxygen in the area, it's called the partial pressure of oxygen, PO2, is very much impaired. It can be only 10 to 20% of what it's supposed to be. Same thing with wound healing and diabetics. I work a lot with wound healing now. And with diabetics, they have no cellular oxygen in the tissue. We can help fix that.
Yeah, Brian, in one of your interviews, you were talking about the omega-6s taking calcium out of calcified, which I guess valves in the heart.
Yeah, I can prove. We had the Iowa study, which is investigating oils with respect to arterial health, showed that the oils long-term, almost an 8-year, 9-year biological age improvement, meaning you had younger arteries than your physical age, because you can look at population samples. So that was done with digital plasmography. So I knew that. And then Dr. Robert Kagan, who is a top radiologist, called me. He goes, Brian, a patient of mine said he's getting something called oxygen pills, and it's your formulation. This is the first time in my career, and he is one of the top radiologists in America. He was the chair of the division that looked at radiology in the pathology section. So he's a top, outstanding science person and outstanding radiologist. He goes, I've never seen a decrease in calcified plaque in a smoker. So we measured it because you can do this with CT scans. Then the patient stopped taking the oils. Dr. Kagan didn't know it. It came back, and he asked him, are you still taking these oils? The guy goes, no. So that is cause-effect. You're taking the oils, the plaque goes away. You stop taking the oils, it comes back. That's as great as an experiment as you will ever want. So it's completely consistent, and it's incredible what this does. Now, it also makes your artery heal or more flexible like a balloon. This is the 120/80. It's 120. It goes boom. It's like a balloon. It should be. If it's not, you're going to have 120/100. It's not going to increase the volume and spring back. So that's hard arteries. You have a high second number, the diastolic. These oils make your artery more flexible. PGE1 dissolves the plaque, hard or otherwise. And a physician, Otto Weiss, knew this in 1981, published this. Again, nobody picks it up. See, the problem in the medical field is so few use the results of the brilliant doctors and scientists of the past. If you look at engineering like the field I am, called impossible engineering. Well, the way we figured this out in 2000 is we looked at the genius from 1980, the engineer blah, blah, who did something else based on the genius engineer of 1940, and they always give credit and stand on the shoulders of a genius before them. I never see this in medicine. That's why it's like a merry-go-round. They don't get anywhere. It's the same damn thing 20 years later. They make no improvements because there's virtually no science. And all this genetic stuff, I want you to know, none of the diseases in major part are genetic at all. It's called epigenetic. Even the inventor of the oncogene, Fritz Weinberg from MIT, reversed it. He said in his book, One Renegade Cell, there aren't enough mutations to cause cancer. You need about 7. We only see 3 or 4. I was wrong. Have you heard that? No.
Nope.
Medical science is always 20 or 30 years, if not 50 years behind the times. They don't keep up with the latest research. And most doctors don't even believe the latest research because they're always being misled. They don't believe anything either. It's like this fish oil stuff. Cochrane comes out and says it's garbage, and you still have cardiologists prescribing it. Here's another one for you. How much saturated fat, is in a clogged artery? Give me a number.
I know the answer. 0.
Right, you are. This was published in the Lancet, the world's premier medical journal, published in the New England Journal of Medicine. High-resolution chromatography. When I first saw it, it was, this must be, they're saying it's 0, but they can only measure to the closest 30 or 40%, so it could be a quarter blocked or a third blocked, but they consider that 0. No, it's 0.1%. They could measure down to 1 part in 1,000. There's no saturated fat in a clogged artery. Everybody listening, ask your cardiologist how much is in there. And if the guy gives you any answer other than 0, get another cardiologist because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Now, the question should be asking, okay, so it's not that. What the heck is in there? That's the intelligent question. What's in there? And the adulterated parent omega-6. 86% is adulterated parent omega-6, and it's not from going bad in your body. It's getting it ready-made from the adulterated food. Dr. Spiteler, one of the most brilliant biochemists in Germany, wrote extensively on this. Nobody listened to him either. The parent omega-6 and parent omega-3 don't go bad in the body. They go bad when you eat it because it's already bad. Now, the transport system, because you mentioned cholesterol before, of the PEOs is cholesterol. So LDL cholesterol, picture it's magnetized to the parent essential oils. That's a transport. So when you take a statin, it lowers that, which could be good if you're eating a lot of junk food and have a lot of adulterated parent omega-6 in there, right? Lower it, that's good. The problem with that approach is you've also lowered the good stuff. So they tried, but they're wrong. This is why they have an NNT of 80 to 100 where it doesn't work. One success out of 100 or one success out of 80. It's horrible. That's a 98%, 99% failure rate. You want to be taking in the good oils every day, and then there's no issue. And one last thing on the oils is your cell structure is a proportion of the good to the bad. Dr. Lanz did this in 1980, a phenomenal study. So if I'm eating 20% adulterated oils, junk oils, I'll have 20% junk in the cell membrane. If I'm 30%, 30. So the key is the more good oils I have, the bigger flexibility I have in the junk. And Otto Warburg showed conclusively 35% cellular decrease in oxygen over a sustained period of time is the threshold to induce cancer. Not genetic, has nothing to do with that. So if I have a screwed up cell membrane, and it can be screwed up by as much as 50%, I'm over that 35% threshold. No one should be getting cancer. No one.
So, Doc,
you want to put the fast food companies out of business.
No, they're not going to be out of business. Nobody's out of business. Remember, the solution isn't have none of that because you're not going to do that anyway. The answer is put in the good stuff so I can actually have more of that if you want it.
So, Professor, let me summarize a few points, and we'll go from there.
Yes.
The benefits of fish oil supplementation grossly overstated. Most studies
actually great harm is
okay.
More
Most studies showing fish oil benefits were short term and lasting less than a year. Most of them.
Yes.
The only study that I found lasting more than 4 years showed an increase in heart disease and sudden death. Fish oil is unstable, vulnerable to oxidative damage.
Yes.
There's no evidence that healthy people benefit from fish oil supplementation, and taking several grams of fish oil per day could be hazardous to your health. Are those statements pretty true?
Very hazardous because it displaces the critical parent omega-6 everywhere. So you're absolutely right. Everywhere the science is science, it states this. But because people are so desperate, they're pulling at straws. I was around when they started this fish oil stuff because I was with the plant-based oils, and I was always looking, going, what the heck is this? Why do we need it? And I would ask the distributors, anybody buying this stuff? And it was always no, no, no. So the bottom line is, if you have infinite money and you have infinite time, you can convince people to do anything. But where do you think the first fish oil came from? How do I sell a spoiled fish to the best restaurant in town? I can't. So it starts as a waste product. They juice the fish, and they sell the garbage to unsuspecting people. That's where it came from.
Well, Dr. Gerry and I talked about it. That's great. That's where they got the fluorides, how they got rid of fluoride. And
yes.
Same way.
Absolutely
They got rid of the junk.
About that.
So, Brian, I had a quick question for you. If you have calcification, let's say, in the brain, will the parent essential oils take care of that also?
Over time, I would expect it would. I have not done a study or a trial with that. I would love to, and based on the science, I'm a theoretical scientist, so I just have the science to predict things. The science should always predict things, and the study should be consistent with the science, not the opposite, like fish oil, making my skin smoother when there's no fish oil in the skin. Yeah. So everything that I've seen, everything that I can predict would say yes, but we haven't done anything with people with dementia or memory problems or Alzheimer's. I'd love to.
Okay, a quick question. When you have, I'm a dentist, so I see people a lot of mercury toxicity. When the mercury attaches to the cell membrane, it would be what, the protein side of the cell membrane? or would it be to
Not
the?
sure. I haven't looked at that. I just know it's one heck of a poison, the mercury.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know
I'm not sure
basically
the biochemistry of it, of where it hits, but it is horrible. It's an absolute poison.
Yeah, I know it has an affinity for the tubulin, and it literally migrates up the nerve and destroys the tubulin as it goes up there. So from that, I would have to extrapolate that it's probably more in the fat part of the membrane.
In the fat, if it's in the nerve, it could be in the myelin, which is on the outside of it. Sure.
Okay, another interesting question came up. I was talking to Dr. Anthony Sims before the show, and he does a lot of work with Tourette's. And one of the things that he notices that light seems to trigger off more Tourette tics. Now, if the membranes in the eye are deficient in the essential omega-6s, would that make that patient more prone for the tics?
It's very possible. The nervous response gets overblown when you have a deficiency sometimes. So putting these oils in could absolutely help that. I've had numerous people, their vision gets better with these oils. Even though they're the parent oils and there's not a lot of them in the eye, there's a lot of DHA there, they modulate things and make a heck of a difference. Even in the brain, there's not a heck of a lot of parent omega-6 and omega-3, but it's 100 to 1 in the ratio of parent omega-6 to parent omega-3. So nature wants it there for a reason. And all I can tell you, people taking these oils, laser sharp attention, eye-hand coordination like you can't believe, no memory problems, no thinking problems, and laser attention. So you give this to your kids, they will have one heck of an advantage. No ADHD, any of that garbage where they can't concentrate. Good point. Phenomenal for anything touching nerves.
In the neurodegenerative disease family, the Parkinson and the you already mentioned dementia.
Yeah,
could you comment on that?
Which one? Parkinson's, yes. The
Parkinson's. Dementia. You already talked about that.
We've had people it's helped. Haven't had a lot because it's not really what I look at, but absolutely it should help. And within 3 months, it's not 3 years, 90 days. If it doesn't help, it's not going to help. But there's a darn good chance it will.
Yeah, Brian, I just have to share this with you. On Thursday, I had an Alzheimer patient that came to me that I've been treating for about 2.5 months. And I do direct resonance testing, which is a technique that was patented by Yoshiaki Amura, a brilliant MD in Manhattan. Anyway, using the muscle testing technique with vials of specific toxins, I delineated that he had glyphosate in his brain, Lyme disease in his brain, and mercury. Now, what's interesting, in 2.5 months of using chelators to pull them out, and also we use a Therify, which is scalar energy, his cognitive skills have improved dramatically. So now what I'm thinking, if I add in the apparent essential oils, I mean, this guy's going to be like doing backflips pretty soon.
Excellent. It will definitely help. How much is dependent on a specific person, but over time, absolutely. Remember, every capillary is 100% parent omega-6, and there's thousands of miles in there. And a capillary is you can't even see it. So they don't show up in any kind of scan.
Yeah.
But they're the size of a red blood cell. In a capillary, the blood cells go through one cell at a time. They're that small. So you can imagine how easy they are to get clogged. It's called the microvascular system.
What's interesting, Brian, Professor Wong has been on our show 3 times, and I use his product religiously. It's a systemic enzyme that's probably the best on the planet. No bars hold. And I had one patient with blood pressure problems that no drug or no vitamin could handle. 4 days on the systemic enzyme, which dissolves out the fibrin, his blood pressure went back to normal. So integrating, I think, a systemic enzyme with your concept has got to be unbelievable.
Well, they're both systemic. I'm a big systemic guy. I'm a systems engineer. So the key word is systems, most people are looking at very specific, isolated things, and when you look at it in terms of system, what they're saying makes no sense. So I'm a big system guy. Couldn't agree with you more.
Now, do you have any products that you recommend?
I don't have products. I'm strictly a medicinal scientist. I consult with companies, and because I talk disease prevention, I can't recommend any specific ones, but I can tell you some things to look for. With the parent oils, needs to be more parent omega-6 than parent omega-3, has to be organic, has to be cold pressed, has to be low peroxide levels, has to be low P-inosine levels. These are secondary aldehydes that nobody even talks about. And by the way, fish oil on the P-inosine level is a 19. You know where toxic starts? 20. Omega oil is about 4. So secondary aldehydes are horrible. I talk about this in PEO solution a lot, and the damage they do is astronomical. So fish oil it's not a 0, it's a negative 20. It's like a trans fat. It's horrible. A 0 I don't care about, just waste your money. But when people are spending money and getting harmed, that's a problem. So if people want to send me an email, I can tell you exactly what I do, but I can't give specific brands. There's very few of them out there. Of course, there's a few that listen to me because I'm typically their nutritional consultant, but nobody is getting this information. And you need some GLA to bypass that delta-6 desaturase to maximize the PGE1. You need more parent omega-6 than omega-3. Make sure it's not backwards like flax oil. 1-to-1 to 2.5-to-1 is fine. You don't want a lot of omega-9. Omega-9 is like olive oil. That's naturally occurring in most oils, but you want as little as possible because some companies will put a lot in there because it's cheap, and they use it for frying. So today a lot of safflower and sunflower oil has high omega-9, meaning about 90% and only 10% parent omega-6, when in its natural form from 50 years ago it was 70-80% parent omega-6. So there's some things to watch out for, and I talk about it in the book, but I hope people will actually get the book before the supplements because I'm about science. I want you understanding what your body does, what's going on, and if you think you need a supplement and why. I'd much rather have you get the science than get a product you really don't know why the heck you're taking, except you heard some guy kind of get excited at an interview, but I really don't understand it. I want you understanding the science for yourself. And the books are easy to read, but they're highly scientific. So I give you the exact quotes out of any medical journal, out of any medical textbook. I give you the exact quote, and of course I translate it. Because some of it's technical, but you'll see exactly what was written. And you won't get misled, and I'm one of the very few that do this.
So basically,
I hope to look me up at BrianPeskin.com.
Yeah, so basically you're a medical terrorist because you're telling the truth.
Yeah, I'm a theoretical physiologist is what I do, but I do tell the truth that I've got a lot of people, like I told you, that hate my guts, but that's the price you pay. Today, the truth, nobody cares about it, but the people that listen to this and want to get healthy do, because if you don't want the truth, you want to live in delusion, you're going to have a bad death on your way to dying, and we're not made to have that. You should be dying rather quickly when you're like 90. It shouldn't be 70, 60. There's people all over the place getting heart attacks at 40 today, and it's predictable. Everybody's becoming diabetic. By the way, these oils make the cell membrane more receptive to all hormones, including insulin. So it goes on and on and on what these oils do. They're phenomenal. They're the closest thing to the fountain of youth you'll ever get because they're so fundamental to the cell. And we're made superbly. The problem is the fuel. What we're eating is wrong, not the system.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Professor Brian Peskin, Peskin. His website is brianpeskin.com. We're talking about parent essential oils. And please, after today, as we tell you every week, please be the CEO of your own body. You have to be in control. You have to ask questions. And when you go to a physician, you must demand answers. If you don't get answers, you have to move on. This show was about the fish oil capsules that they're selling billions of, I guess. They are toxic. This program can be heard again if you missed any of it. You can go to Professor Peskin's site, brianpeskin.com, get some of his books. But the fish oils are not what the mainstream news is telling you. They are toxic. They actually ruin your health. So if again, in the theory of this program, where we ask you to take control of your health, to be the CEO of your body, this is something that's why I was very happy that Professor Peskin could come on the show, because this information you're not going to find any place. You're not going to find it on ABC or whatever. You're only going to find it on shows like this. So we're talking about getting rid of your marine oils and get back to basic plant-based oils, the parent essential oils that you can get from.
You got it. You
right?
Got it. You got it. Actually, 2018, New England Journal of Medicine, that's the #1 medical journal in America. They had the Ascend trial, 2018, 15,000 patients, 7 years follow-up, no difference between the fish oil groups and the heart disease group. And here was their comment. Our large, long-term randomized trial shows fish oil supplements do not reduce the risk of cardiovascular events in patients with diabetes. There is no justification recommending fish oil to protect against cardiovascular events. Now, diabetics have 2 to 4 times more heart disease than a non-diabetic. So if this was going to work, it should work in the tougher case, not the easier case. And they were giving a gram a day, which again is 40 times more than you need, and that didn't do it. Because that's what you'll always hear with these guys. It wasn't enough. Well, a factor of 40 times overdose isn't enough. They're insane. So it comes out in the top journals, but nobody listens. Like you say, it's tragic.
Now, in your research, have you come across any information that talks about the effect of the EMFs, the electromagnetic frequencies, on the cell membrane?
Yeah, it destroys them, and 5G is going to destroy them even more. About the only saving grace is if you have a strong cell membrane, you got a chance against it. But if you don't, when this 5G is there, it's so powerful, you're going to see diseases just skyrocket even more than they are now. Very good point.
Let me just see if anyone wants to ask any questions. There's a phone number that ends in 8049. Any questions for Professor Peskin? I guess not there. And there's another one here. Phone number ending in 8402. Any comments or questions? Okay, thank you.
A lot to take in. I speak fast.
Well,
that's okay. I just have a quick question for you. I deal a lot with chronic pain. And so from what I've gleaned from what you're describing is that chronic pain patients have a severe deficiency of the omega-6s and 3s.
Got it. The PGE1, these are the biggest thing in the world for people with pain. The parent oils. Absolutely.
So I read some years ago when someone takes an NSAID drug, Nuprin, ibuprofen, and they get positive results. That's a diagnostic test that they're deficient in the parent essential oils.
It's a good point, and remember, it shuts down the whole system, so it's a temporary positive effect, but long term, it's killing you because you don't get derivatives from these parents. So it is horrible. There's technical things between a steroid and a NSAID, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is it impedes the eicosanoid chain. It impedes the derivatives that you need. And by doing that, long term, these people die. It's why you can't be on a steroid forever. You ask any MD, they'll tell you steroid, short term. You see people on them for 5-8 years, they're on the road to killing them.
Brian, let me blow your circuits a second. I found an article in researching for this program from 1981, JAMA. Decent journal, right? I'm just going to read you the conclusion. The evidence favors the concept that essential unsaturated fatty acids are required for the normal transport of cholesterol as lipoproteins and possibly phospholipid complexes.
There you
Volumes
go.
164, number 4. But, nobody picked up on that either, I don't think.
In the past, the truth is always published. Today, 95% of the journal articles are absolute garbage. They're an end in themselves. Publishing has become an end in itself. It leads nowhere, and it's often wrong. When I see some guy's got his name on 300 or 500 papers, the first question I go is, what have you solved? And they look at me going, what?
He
Well,
solved his
what's
bank
solved?
account problem, Brian.
What have you solved? Nothing. It's just
Brian,
garbage.
He filled his
exactly
pocketbook.
what Gerry said. He solved his financial problem.
You got it. Einstein probably had 5 papers, Nobel Prize winner for relativity. Feynman, Nobel Prize winner in physics, had about 5, 6 papers. It's insane. Now these idiots just spit out garbage that leads nowhere. It's always more research is needed, or it's wrong, and nobody ever retracts it and takes responsibility. Where's the guy that was wrong, and why isn't he in jail, if not worse? Never. There's no apology. They were actually saying prophylactic breast removal if you have the BRCA gene, and they said that was wrong. No apology, no anything, just, it was wrong. It's incredible today. Incredible. Nobody takes responsibility for anything. I take responsibility. I tell people if I'm wrong, shoot me. I deserve to be shot. This is serious stuff.
You didn't say that to your wife,
Very
I hope.
Nobody's done it yet, because I'm never wrong. Before I publish something and open my mouth, I make sure from 10 different viewpoints or advantages it's consistent with all the biochemistry and physiology. There's no inconsistency with anything I write. There can't be. And this is because I'm a scientist trained in engineering and mathematics. So it's like a proof. It's called internally consistent. And most people don't have that standard. So I have a very, very high standard when I tell people things.
So getting back to the cancer issue, so because I read Warburg's information years ago also, I presented it to my wife's oncologist at the time, and he looked at me like I was from the mothership. But anyway,
yes, they don't know
so
his name.
They don't know
his
from,
name.
yeah. So the key is by increasing the oxygenation, you stop the fermentation process, then the cells can go back to factory default, is basically what happens, right?
You got it. If there's high oxygen levels, cancer doesn't start. And cancer is a protective mechanism from the body. Not a foreign invader. It's not some nation. And where do you get it from? The screwed up oils. We do it to ourselves, but unknowingly. The body can have the tissue or the organ die, in which case you would die right away. Or if the cell can live in a stupid way, like a yeast, which is fermentation, anaerobic fermentation, aerobic glycolysis, meaning with no oxygen. Oxygen gives intelligence. No oxygen, you got a moron, like a yeast. It just grows and grows. So it's okay for beer and champagne, but it's not good for much else. But this is a protective mechanism that nature gave us to, okay, let it go with this short term, and hopefully the guy will fix the problem. Problem never gets fixed, and you end up dying of cancer. That's the problem. Just ripping out a tumor does nothing long term. This is why it comes back. And when it comes back, it's even worse. So one of my major books was called The Hidden Story of Cancer. You can get that in PDF form. It is incredible. It's all Warburg's work. And I figured out what makes the oxygen at the cell level. That's my contribution to it. But Warburg's the one that told me it was all oxygen-based. And it works. Nobody taking these oils gets cancer unless they're breathing in immense amounts of carcinogens, eating poison, that sort of stuff. Anybody close to normal, I don't know how you get cancer because it's strictly lack of cellular oxygen. And this was proven in the States in 1944 and 1946 by MDs and medical scientists here. They did phenomenal studies proving this. Nobody did anything because I told you they hated Warburg's guts.
Well, it's very interesting. Hitler, his mother died of breast cancer, and that's the reason why he funded Warburg and the other brilliant scientists in Germany to find an answer, because he was paranoid about getting cancer.
Yes, it is. You're exactly right. And the Jews in America hated it.
Yeah.
They hated it. So they would do everything they could to discredit to him. And even in the book, I have a whole chapter about comments about his work and why it's wrong. I show why every one of them is wrong. They even went to the stage of looking at different animals going, oh, it doesn't work. They'd look at one thing that was with a mouse. They'd take another one that was with a rat. They'd take another one that was with some other animal. You can't do this. You got to look at the same species exactly and have a very controlled experiment. They would violate all that, publish this stuff, and nobody'd say anything. No, he's wrong. And where they are today is nothing. There is no basis in genetic anything. This immunotherapy is insane. The stuff with CARD is insane. Everything they're doing is insane because they don't have the cause. They don't have a clue what's giving you cancer. So how do you solve it if you don't know what's doing it? One prime cause, lack of cellular oxygen. Now there's hundreds of secondary. Asbestos, what does it do? Inflammation. How does the body respond to inflammation? Massive oxygen. So if it's using the oxygen in one place, guess what? There's a shortage in another. It's as simple as that. That's why cancer can be anywhere. It just depends which organ or tissue has the lack of cellular oxygen. And the key is to keep the tumor benign. 90% of the time you keep it benign, you're never going to die unless it's in a life support system area like in the brain. But other than that, it's no issue at all. And with these oils, you can keep it benign forever and typically shrinks it.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I'm going to share with you a novel approach that I take with cancer patients. I have them bring in their pathology slide, and I energetically test the slide, and I pick up what I call the splinters, the pesticides, the chemicals, the heavy metals, the viruses, and then when we put them on a nutritional program and remove it, the cancer disappears.
Excellent.
But I can't wait to start implementing your technology because I'm all excited like a little kid in a candy store because this makes so much sense.
Send me an email. I'll tell you what brand I use myself.
Okay.
Just pop me.
Excellent.
Thank
All
you.
right, ladies and gentlemen, Professor Brian Peskin. What a great interview. Thank you so much. Dr. Gerry, did you have any other questions for the professor?
God bless you. I mean, you have stamina like a 21-year-old, and if you take, I'm taking these cordyceps from China, and I know China has a bad rap on a lot of stuff, but I know the source. I know the source on these cordyceps.
Okay.
They're grown anyway. It's so unbelievable. I wake up in the morning, full of piss and vinegar. Excuse my French, but I got more energy now than when I was 21.
Me too.
Yeah,
the way it should be. But most people don't have a clue what feeling decent is. They're half dead, and that's their normal. They don't have a clue how you should feel. You should need 5 hours of sleep a night. You should be able to go to bed at midnight and get up at 5. Boom. Nobody can do that.
I always equate this scenario of the guy jumping off the Empire State Building and 12 stories down. He said, "So far, so good."
Right.
Well, Gerry, you did tell me about this piss and vinegar that, you said you get up 4 times a night. 3 times you actually make it to the bathroom. But anyway, look, this has been just great. I really enjoyed it. I think we learned a lot. I will impose upon you to come back again. I will send you an email to to give me some recommendations so I can start on the PEOs. And this is great, Gerry. I think you're going to do the same thing, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll pass on this information, and we'll probably have this show put on YouTube also. So I hope I know you're going to be helping a lot of people. Thank you. Okay, see you next time. Well, Gerry, we were supposed to talk how to be blind, deaf, and dumb by going to the fitness center because of all the things that people are doing while they're working out, like with the cell phones and the earbuds. So I went into sauna this morning, and actually all I saw was blue lit faces from cell phones in the sauna. It made me sick. I couldn't even stay there. It's just crazy.
It's pathetic.
It's pathetic. They're going there and they're making themselves sick. They really are. They don't know. They don't know they're going to get macular degeneration in the future.
Yeah, they don't have a clue what's going on.
No.
But you know, as I say, Brian, if they canceled the Super Bowl to show it on TV, you'd have riots in the street.
Oh, I know. That's all I care about. Entertain the masses. Just like the old Coliseum, right?
Yep, you got
They
it.
have no attention anymore, and they need to be entertained. Everything has to come from the outside. Nothing comes internally anymore.
Right.
There's nothing there. It's
Absolutely
just horrible. Right. The bigger this oil deficiency is, the worse everything gets. But there's no memory. Go to a McDonald's, you tell somebody what you have, and they ask you the same thing 15 seconds later. There's no memory.
Yeah.
Good talking
All
to
right.
you.
Well,
Brian,
Brian,
give you the
thank you.
answers.
Brian, this young gentleman used to play with B.B. King. He wrote this song, "The Doctor's in the House." So we're going to play that as we sign off today. And we will both send you an email and be in touch with you again. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, the doctor's in the house, y'all. He's in the house, man. Listen to this man. He got some good news for you. Hey, everybody, gather near. The doctor's in the house, so lend him your ear. The things he can say might even make your day. He might even help your pain go away. The doctor is in the house. The doctor is in the house. Let the doctor know what's bothering you. I'm sure he can tell you just what to do. The doctor is.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Ron and Dr. Gerry. We just brought you Professor Brian Peskin talking about the parent essential oils and why you should not be taking the commercial fish oil supplements. I want to thank you. And next week, we will be talking about what not to do when you go to work out. So thank you again. Yeah, maybe. Subject to change at your host discretion.
Right.
So we'll let Freddie take us out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Call the doctor. Call the doctor. Tell me what's happening now.
For a limited time at Sprint, get $50 for each new phone you lease when you switch. That's right, you'll get $50 for each new phone on a prepaid MasterCard issued by MetaBank member FDIC. Just register for the card online and you're good to go. Get a network built for unlimited and a great price at Sprint. It's the best of both worlds. And get $50 on a prepaid MasterCard for each phone you lease. Visit a Sprint store this weekend only for sizzling Sprint Saturday deals.
Card terms, conditions, and expiration apply.
For a limited time at Sprint, get $50 for each new phone you lease when you switch. That's right, you'll get $50 for each new phone on a prepaid MasterCard issued by MetaBank member FDIC. Just register for the card online and you're good to go. Get a network built for unlimited and a great price at Sprint. It's the best of both worlds. And get $50 on a prepaid MasterCard for each phone you lease. Visit a Sprint store this weekend only for sizzling Sprint Saturday deals.
Card terms, conditions, and expiration apply.